Welcome to Watching the Throne.
A lyrical analysis of Kanye West.
My name's Chris Lambert.
And my name is Travis Bean. And today we have a matchup for the ages. In one quarter, Kanye West. In the other, this seems abnormal, but Kim Kardashian, and she's accompanied by all of her sisters, her mother, and they're all part of a tag team. It seems unfair, but Kanye's ready to take them on.
So this is like a wrestling match.
Yeah, which I thought you'd be excited about.
Yeah, as long as WWE's not writing it, then it's
and
good.
As long as Kanye wins.
Yeah. Those are the things I want to cheer for. I want to be excited about.
Yeah, I kind of hope that they all agree to not fight and just go to the middle and shake hands and then sit down in front of everybody in the middle of the ring and just like watch a movie.
That would be an unorthodox wrestling match, but it would be great for the morale.
And I say great entertainment.
What movie do they watch, though?
Well, yeah, they would have to. That will probably be the most contentious part of this entire event, that they have to pick the right movie to watch, because the kids are there too. You want to pick something that they'll enjoy.
So I bet it comes down to like Wreck-It Ralph, something like that.
Definitely Wreck-It Ralph for sure. Either Wreck-It Ralph or, I mean, it depends what time of year it is. If it's like, if we're getting into the winter season, like maybe we watch Frozen. But
oh yeah, I wonder what Kanye's stance is on Frozen. I wonder how he feels about Hocus Pocus.
Ugh, that's demon magic right there. I don't think he's a fan of it.
Oh yeah, that's true. Maybe he's off of. He's like, these witches.
Although the witches lose, so maybe he loves it.
That's true. It's true. But he's just like, this doesn't jive with reality.
Do people?
No witches, no talking cat.
Do people still know Hocus Pocus?
I feel like it's still like beloved.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think so. It's on Disney Plus.
That makes me happy, because that's some solid shit right there.
Yeah. The Big Green's also on Disney Plus for everyone that wants a youth soccer league movie.
Hey, yeah, while you're at it, go watch The Sandlot or what's another kids sports movie? Air Bud?
Little Giants.
Little Giants. Oh yeah, Little Giants. Loved it. I loved that and The Big Green as a kid.
Yeah, I was going through Disney Plus movies last night. I saw Big Green. I was like, oh, they have to have Little Giants. And then I went in, no Little Giants, no Icebox.
Well, regardless, everybody, we're here to talk about Believe What I Say. Strap in, because we're confused about some of it and we might need your help.
Yeah, I mean, the song, I think, overall is straightforward in the fact that it is Kanye talking about how things went wrong with Kim, or just like things that went wrong with Kim, and how the relationship ended up in the place that it's in, and how the divorce came about. So this is the most that I think we've heard Kanye kind of vent about the dynamics with Kim. Right. In previous albums, it was mostly just like either Bound to Wolves, or how Kanye's like messing things up in FML and like how he needs to do better, or what on Ye Would It Leave, another song where he's like, I'm messing up and I need to do better. Like, you're amazing. And then Closed on Sundays, another one where he just kind of shouts out family and like protecting family.
Yeah, right.
But we wondered if on Donda there was going to be a song that was more direct about where things went wrong, leading to the separation and the divorce. And for most of the album, he stays pretty neutral about it.
Right.
We did have like I'm Losing My Family, which was heartbreaking, right? Hearing it during the listening parties. But that didn't make the final album, so doesn't quite get talked about in terms of the album narrative. We have Jail, where it seems like that's kind of starting out in terms of things that are wrong between Kim and Kanye, or at least establishing that this is post-divorce. And we have Come to Life, where Kanye starts to take on some blame as to what went wrong. But here is, I think, the main song where Kanye kind of points a finger back and says, hey, you did all these things, like these people did all these things, like I'm not fully at fault here. Like there were other things going on that caused the marriage to fail. It's not all on me. And that's refreshing in some ways to hear his perspective on it, rather than him just saying, like, I'm at fault for everything. It's a little more grounded and realistic that he would have complaints too. But specifically, there are just some lines where just like, does that mean what we think it means? Is this a little vague? So like, you get the overall tone of the song and the contentiousness of the song, but there are a couple just strange lines.
I agree about it being refreshing because, I mean, it's Kim and Kanye. Like, they're both like billionaires, they're gigantic celebrities. Like, their lives are completely exposed. We think we know everything about them. We, idolize them. We prop them up on this pedestal, but they're people. Like, they fight. They have problems just like anybody else. Like, very little stupid problems, and not even stupid. Just like very real things everybody goes through in terms of like dealing with family and like balancing work and your life and parenting and the proper way to raise your kids and how you act out in the public and how that reflects on your family, like all that shit. Like, of course they deal with all that stuff, and you don't ever really get to see that on you do see elements of it on the show, but even on the show, like, it all feels like a little theatrical and dramatized at times. Not that they're like writing a script and this isn't real, but
keeping up with the Kardashians.
Yeah. What did I say?
Oh, you just said the show.
Oh, right. Yeah. Keeping up. When you're sitting in front of a camera, like, things are just different and elevated. I don't know. Like, so much of their lives is so extra that you just forget that things can be like this, like you hear in the song. And yeah, you're totally right that like Kanye spent so much time just saying like, I said the wrong thing and screwed things up. Like, no, this is a real look at their situation, how Kanye was feeling. This is a very open and vulnerable way to express himself about all this stuff. Just as vulnerable as all the songs you're talking about, like Wouldn't Leave. I think it's important for him to be honest and open and reflective and present the situation as it was in a way we can understand it and relate to it, which makes something like Lord, I Need You hit way harder later in the album, that we have these two views of their relationship and what went wrong and like what worked, what didn't work. It's a much more full-fledged view of them that is very different than something like The Life of Pablo, where like Kanye's making it mythical. Like, he is, he's elevating it, taking it to this like biblical level, to where here it's shit everybody deals with,
Yeah. Right. I forgot Lord, I Need You had the lines too, like, too many complaints made it hard for me to think. Would you shut up? I can't hear myself drink.
Right.
Like, God.
Yeah. I mean, on this song, Kanye's not too critical of himself. I think it's almost, I would say, a more just like, not objective, because it's not objective, but like this, like Kanye outside of himself and just looking at the situation as is and how it's affecting him, and just like, pouring out his feelings about it. Like, that's not easy to do. You don't want to like push people away and like seem too critical and like you're not, lambasting yourself at all. It's this look at like, this is really how Kanye felt a lot of the times, but the treatment he was getting from Kim and from her family, and just how it was making him feel. And to think like this is the place it took him to, on Believe What I Say, a song that, he was making way back in September of 2020. Like, he was feeling this way back then. It's so interesting to see how this song was relevant back then and still is today, and it carries the same energy. Like, this is all stuff he's been thinking for a long time, and it fit very well, especially in this part of the album where he's very, antagonistic and defensive of himself.
Yeah, which gets into 2 points of conversation. Like, the origins of the song, Kanye first played the snippet in September of 2020, September 26th, which is after the release date that he had for Donda.
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't it supposed to come out like the 17th or the 21st?
That sounds
something
right.
like that. And then didn't, which you're just like, and you're waiting. And then he plays this snippet and people are like, okay. And we got the Lauryn Hill sample at the beginning, right? That was the same. And then it starts to get into that first verse. You need something unexpected, some form of weapon. And then it gets into muttering, like where you get that don't let the lifestyle drag you down. You hear Kanye say like don't let
right,
and you're just like, oh, these lyrics are not finished. Like, okay, things aren't quite where they should be. And that's all that we really heard at the time. So you imagine that there was probably a version of the song that Kanye was working on ahead of the divorce proceedings, and then maybe a version of the song that he maybe changed some lyrics in the aftermath of the divorce, because I don't know if like Go and Get Your Best Attorney was part of it at that point, as the two of them were still together through November. Though maybe he was just already seeing the writing on the wall.
I mean, the fact that he was making the song back then before the divorce is, I mean, as far as we know, divorce wasn't impending or anything back then. Like they were still together and like working things out. So if this song exists and it's carrying the energy that this song has, and you know, that first verse we hear is still the same, like something I'd expected, some form of weapon, still feel protected. Like it makes you think that he must have written the song about Kim's family, like that the way that's what I think anyway, because I don't think he's going to make a diss track towards Kim. Like he's probably talking about the people that are like, you know, warping her view of him or something like that.
Well, the context for that is that we know how close Kim is with her siblings. We also know that when Kanye would do anything that's slightly controversial, that she's probably talking first to her family about what she should do. Mm-hmm. And rather than talking with him, rather than following her heart, she's listening to these other opinions and kind of taking it to the group to discuss, which is something everyone does, right? But I think depending on your situation, some people can be more independent with the thinking about what they need to do, and some people can be swayed a little more strongly by their peer group, whether it's friends, whether it's family, like close sisters that you have, what your parents are telling you. Like some people don't listen to their parents at all, right?
Right.
Where other people very much do. And we know how close the Kardashians are. So you can imagine in that September period following Kanye's South Carolina speech, that was so provocative as he was getting into like everything with Kim and North and the pregnancy, and specifically, hey, YouTube, but all of that stuff that really caused the headlines, caused the controversy, him crying on stage. We know that in the aftermath of that speech, when Kanye was back in Wyoming, he started tweeting about how, you know, where's the tweets? They tried to fly in with two doctors and 5150 me, as in people thought Kanye was having a manic episode and needed to be hospitalized again. So Kim, and I'm assuming they meant Kim and her family, tried to fly in with these doctors, which is why Kanye said, this is my last tweet of the night, Chris Jong-un, right? So he started calling out Chris specifically. He said, come and get me. He was white supremacy at its highest, no cap. Like he was very upset at not just Kim, but at Chris. And it seemed at just the Kardashians in general. It wasn't too long in the aftermath of everything, kind of falling apart with Kim. They unfollowed Khloe and Kourtney on Instagram, like pretty quickly, in a way that he hadn't others. So, and on Twitter too, unfollowed them on Twitter. That's what it was. So just wrapped up in this September period when he's starting to work on the song is all this drama of how Kim was reacting to Kanye. And I'm sure, and you seem sure as well, like the impact that her family was having on that discussion and how she was handling things. And I think we even saw it somewhat in the Keeping Up with the Kardashians episodes when Kim was talking about the divorce. It seemed that, you know, the sisters are listening to her complaints, but are also like kind of taking her down that path as well.
Right.
In terms of like, you need to do you, yada, 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 which I think most friends would give their friends, or most sisters would give their sister that kind of advice if they're not feeling happy in a relationship. So it's not to say that they were wrong, and they certainly know more about what's going on than any of us. Right. But at the same time, you can see why that would bother Kanye and why that probably is context for this song.
Yeah, totally. Because Kanye doesn't have a show where he can show that. Like, this is his chance to do it.
Yeah, like his albums are his show.
And we are happy to watch that show.
Yeah. So you have that context going into the song, which is probably getting into like Kim's reaction to the South Carolina speech, like the reaction to the family as well, and the impact that they had on how Kim was reacting. And then we've talked about how this is a pretty confrontational part of the album. Off the Grid was very antagonistic, right? Praise God, you start getting into some lyrics about like, me and your big homie go back, you don't know me like that. As it seems Kanye is kind of standing his ground against Drake and saying like, you need to respect me, you're gonna lowercase the first word of the first word of every text because you're gonna talk to me with no cap, like. And then we get Jonah, where he's also going at Drake. Wait, I messed those up. Jonah is the one where he says that, yeah. And then okay is where he goes at Drake a little more explicitly. And then Junior, we talked about having some Drake disses and a Drake emphasis and focus. So you have 3 songs in a row that are getting at Kanye feeling a bit combative, a bit competitive. And now you have him turning his attention from these external, like in my career conflicts that I'm having, to this internal in my personal life conflict that I'm having. So Believe What I Say kind of slots in pretty well to him just kind of calling out people that he is upset with.
Yeah, and then it's going to lead into several more songs that are a little bit lighter in, maybe not lighter in tone, but at least in the soundscape, and a little more godly and introspective and thinking about yourself. So you could see this song, the way you describe it, you could see it being the mediary between those two energies, like the outward antagonistic angle and then the inward meditative angle, where like you're trying to like find where you fit in it all. And in this song, like it's both antagonistic and micro. Like he's trying to figure out a family situation, like what went wrong, like why do you think these things about me? When was the last time you felt the love? Like all this stuff. Like it's just him pouring out a lot of emotions and conflicting feelings he's having.
Yeah, because Jonah, okay, and Junior aren't necessarily that existential, right? They're not that philosophical. Like, when was the last time you felt the love? It's just like, you gotta respect me. Yeah. Like, all of you sound like me. Like, move out of the way of my release. It's just like him kind of stating how things are. He's not doing that here. And as you're going from the external to the personal to the internal, yeah, you're right. Like 24 is like much more reflective.
Yeah.
In terms of just like the soundscape, the lyrics, like Remote Control, Moon. And we've talked about how in this early portion of the album, it seems to be a lot of back and forth from like Demon on the shoulder versus Angel on the shoulder. And this tension between like maybe being a little more devilish versus being a little more godly. And we're seeing that dichotomy get mentioned a lot, like angels and demons, heaven and hell, devils and God, on God Breathed, Off the Grid, Hurricane, Praise God, Jonah. Like you just keep having this contrasting energy. So this part of the album, or having a stretch of the album that has so much antagonism, setting up a switch over to like an awakening, so to speak, or a transition to the awakening, it feels, at least conceptually or narratively, like what you'd expect. You need the character to kind of go toward the darkest path before having their like come to God moment. Yeah,
totally. And I guess the only thing like dark here in quotes is just like Kanye's energy. Like you respect what he's saying, and like it's a useful angle to have in this relationship. But if you want to make peace with yourself, with the people in your life. Like, we need to see him slowly go towards the, Lord, I need you path.
Yeah, and that's like, you just compare the energy from Believe What I Say to Lord, I Need You to Come to Life.
Yeah, right.
And just how Kanye is reflecting on the same situation in different ways. Even Jail to Believe What I Say to Lord, I Need You to Come to Life. You think about that arc. So that's one of the cool things in narrative is when you find like a single relationship or a single like subplot or issue, and you see how the character changes how they approach that situation. It shows the change in the character, whether positive or negative. So you could have a character that early on is the easy thing in storytelling. They always say, does the character pet the dog or kick the dog? That's the thing. So if you want to show that this is a good person, you have them pet the dog. It's just an easy way to like give the audience an idea of what kind of person this is, where you might have somebody like push the dog out of the way or ignore the dog, and that also gives you an idea of what kind of person this is. It's one of the screenwriting tricks that's talked about, which makes House of Cards, like the very first scene of House of Cards was so good, because a dog gets hit by a car and Kevin Spacey goes out to help it and decides that, Kevin Spacey, but he decides that the best way to help this dog and to be kind to it is to put it out of its misery. And it's just like, oh, that's a very complicated way of doing the like pet the dog or kick the dog. It's that he murders the dog, but is doing so out of a sense of like helping it through its pain in that moment, because there was no way to save it. And it was a very complicated character in House of Cards. So anyway, just nerding out on narrative constructions right now. But you would expect the character to have some kind of arc where they are feeling a little more combative, where they are standing up for themselves in a way, but then also having moments that pivot on that to show the growth of like, okay, I did feel that way. I do feel that way, but I should also be looking at it in this way. And in having that step back to Lord, I Need You and Come to Life, it shows the way in which the arc from Donda, Keep My Spirit Alive, Jesus, Lord, and New Again is really paying off, because it is allowing him to see a situation like this in a different way than what he was seeing it before.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, or do we get into the sample?
Yeah, the sample. Oh man, yeah, that
we finally
also
have
gets
a sample.
Back. Yeah, it's the first one in a while, right? Since God Breathed.
Oh yeah, that's right. God Breathed. I forgot about that Liquid song.
Yeah, the screaming.
Yeah.
So on this, we have Lauryn Hill starting off with saying, "Yo, yo, check your situation. My men and white women."
Thing, right?
Yeah, it's doo-wop that thing.
Yeah.
And that song is about men and women. Like,
yeah,
very specifically. So the first verse is about women, and it just kind of like, whatchamacallit, Lauryn Hill kind of checking the behavior of women when they go out, and kind of giving some chastisements, some criticisms, and about how they're trying to like get men, the way in which they're presenting themselves, the superficiality of it all. And the hook is, guys, you better watch out. Some girls are only about that thing. In which case, that thing is sex. Baby. Or, yeah. Like this superficial like experience with men. They're not in it because they like you, because they love you. They're in it because they want something from you. Mm-hmm. And then the second verse is a criticism of men and the way men behave when they go out. So Lauryn Hill's kind of taking aim at both men and women and their behaviors and how they treat one another. And you get the hook repeating, but this time it's girls, you better watch out. Some guys are only about that thing. And then she repeats it with she doesn't repeat it. She just repeats girls again. I thought she flipped it to bring back guys, you better watch out. But you have both of those elements coming in, the way in which women will take advantage of men and the way in which men will take advantage of women, which is something that we talk a lot about on Yeezus as a subplot of Yeezus, that in this 21st century consumerism driven society, you see a lot of superficial relationships where the women are trying to get materialism from guys and guys are just using women for their bodies. And you have this very hollow transaction that's taking place that leaves no room for actual like love, which is the thing that the Yeezus character on Yeezus is missing but longing for, but because of the lifestyle and because of his position as a superstar is finding himself incapable of exploring and reaching out for, especially because he was hurt in the past. So when we do our Yeezus season, even though we already wrote the Yeezus book, covered it once, and co-wrote the Dissect season on Yeezus, but when we do that, you'll hear us talk a lot about the way in which men and women kind of take advantage of each other, which is something Lauryn Hill was talking about way back when on the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. So you have that very long first verse about the way that women behave, a second verse about the way men behave, and then this skit and outro that goes back to the class, and the class is a motif or a thing that Lauryn Hill, it's not quite a motif. I mean, it is, but
it's a occurrence on the album that happened. Like it's there's this interlude where this guy is talking to a classroom and they're trying to define what love is.
Yeah, like a mechanism that she's using throughout the album, or a gimmick is too harsh, but it is kind of like a gimmick on the album of going back to this class. And specifically here, you have this skit that goes, class, hey, we've got some very intelligent women here. Do you think you're too young to really love somebody? And somebody says, no, I don't think so. I say it for me. I'm an adult. I say, wait, you're too young to be in love. This is silly. You're infatuated or whatever. You got nice jeans. You wear fancy Adidas. I mean, it might be something. I don't know. And somebody says, it's a difference from loving somebody and being in love with somebody. And they say, well, you tell me, what's the difference? Okay, you can love anybody, but when you're in love with somebody, you're looking at it like this. You're taking that person for what he or she is, no matter what he or she look like, or no matter what he or she do. And somebody else says, you're crazy. You fall in love. You can fall out of love. You might stop being in love with them, but you aren't going to stop loving that person. And they kind of like get back and forth in that. But I think the emphasis is here on the idea of there's like a superficiality that can be placed to it, but then also falling in love and out of love, but also the idea that you love somebody no matter what, if you're in love with them, no matter what they look like, no matter what they have, which starts to get into some of the things that we're seeing on Believe What I Say, specifically just going to the chorus, don't let the lifestyle drag you down, right? And if you're going to extrapolate or look at the larger picture from doo-wop, you see that in the first verse about women, Lauryn Hill's kind of chastising them for a lifestyle. She even says, showing off your ass because you're thinking it's a trend. And the same thing with the guys. Like, you're acting this way just because you think you should. And then that's what the kids or the class are getting at as well. Like, you got nice jeans, you're wearing Adidas. Do you love somebody no matter what? Or are you just kind of like in love with them momentarily because it fits what you're doing right then and there? Can you fall out of love with them? So I think this idea of lifestyle and the permanence or impermanence of love is really what Kanye is getting at with the sample here, and just showing the way in which men can misbehave and women can misbehave and cause issues in a potential relationship.
Yeah, it's interesting how, I mean, as we're talking about Lauryn Hill and, you know, I'm thinking about the album and how, yeah, she's chastising both men and women, which is something we see Kanye talk about on Blood on the Leaves, as well as several other songs, especially on Yeezus. The use of gospel on her albums, the just general sound of her albums. Like, I'm seeing that Kanye must have been heavily influenced by her. And we've seen her sample her twice now. He also sampled her on All Falls Down. And he, on the song Champion, says, Lauryn Hill said her heart was in Zion. I wish her heart was still in Ryman. And we talked about on the episode we did for Champion how we went into the lyrics of Zion and how that played into, you know, the whole of the album for sure, because it's about Chicago, but specifically Champion about Kanye speaking to kids in Chicago and how on that song, we have another interlude where the teacher is talking to the kids and how it reflects Kanye's pressure to be like this leader to boys and girls. Like, it's so interesting to see Kanye pulling all of these different threads from Lauryn Hill. And now I feel like it comes full circle now. I believe what I say, like that he's really getting to the bigger picture of what the miseducation of Lauryn Hill is all about. You know, an album where Lauryn Hill's dealing with grief and heartache and she feels betrayal, but ultimately, you know, she's also singing about her son, and there's hopefulness to some of her songs, and there's some intimate situations she's describing. Like, she's ultimately talking about love and like, how do you find love in this crazy world? And it's just so interesting to see Kanye. That's really what he's getting at here, I think, by sampling Doo-Wop, a song that itself maybe is a little more critical and cynical, but when we kind of pull away from it and look at the album as a whole and how it fits into the album, it's part of this more hopeful thing, this bigger thing to come out the other side in better shape and to get away from all the negativity, which ultimately is where Donda goes.
Absolutely. Right. He kind of follows a similar arc or trend on that.
Yeah. Archer agrees with me. I love hearing it.
Yeah, he's applauding you. He is applauding. He's been asleep on his bed this whole time, and apparently people with their dog were just walking by, and he's like, I need to let him know I'm here.
Yeah, I used to have a dog. I knew how it was.
You know, mentioning Kanye's history with Lauryn Hill had me looking up right before or right after he posted this, right? September 26th was when he posted the first snippet of Believe What I Say. On the 28th, he tweeted out Lauryn Hill's speech where she talked about the Matrix. Oh. So I remember him, our queen speaking on the Matrix. So he even refers to her as our queen.
Yeah.
Like, he's a pretty big Lauryn Hill fan. He's a fan. He is a fan. One other interesting thing on top of all that I was noting, all that you're noting, is that Check Our Situation is one of the things you hear in the background of the Lauryn Hill sample, right? It's like, yo, yo, my men and my women, my men and my women. But Check Our Situation is not from Doo-Wop.
Right. What is it from?
I have no idea. But I don't know if it's like from another Lauryn Hill song and he just kind of added it in, or if it's him saying it, or if it's taken from somewhere else. But it's at least not something that's said in a Lauryn Hill song. At least I don't think.
Damn, I kind of feel like I want to go check now. But yeah. There are additional vocals on the song from Stallone and Dim Joints. So, I mean, this is a very... I feel intimidated to even talk about the soundscape of this song. Go ahead.
No, I'm wrong. You can hear Check Our Situation out in the background of Lauryn Hill.
Okay.
It's just not listed in the lyrics.
Ah, okay. But
yeah, never mind.
But just in general, like, all of the different voices and sounds you hear on the song, like, I don't know if I have much to say about the production of the song because I find it so intimidating in kind of a Graduation sort of way. Like, it reminds me a lot of Graduation and how, like, sunny and bubbly and poppy it can feel, and like just a confluence of sounds like all the time, like flowing in and out of each other, like constantly changing. It's kind of a miraculous song. In a very big departure from anything on the album so far, especially because drums are such a prominent part of it, and it's such an important part in moving the song forward in a way that's not really at the beginning of the album, and is a problem a lot of people had. I hate to out Jordan C. Johnson on this show because he hasn't got to come on and properly defend himself, but I think he wasn't really digging Donda because of that lack of drums and that lack of progression on songs. But I remember he really liked the song, and that's probably why. Like, this song just, like, it really moves. It has life and energy. It's just so good. I love it.
Yeah, because you look at the soundscape of Jail, a little heavier. Like, God Breathed, a little more gothic.
Yeah.
Off the Grid, you get that drill sound that's also, I would say, it feels more nighttime than daytime. Hurricane is the first song that I feel like has more of a daytime vibe to it, like a brightness to it. But even that still feels like there's like clouds hanging over it. And then Praise God, Jonah, Okay, Okay, and Junya are all very midnight sounding songs, which is even something that's part of Praise God with the Gwendolyn Brooks. It can't always be night, like the day will come. So Believe What I Say is the first song that really feels like it is stepping into that brightness, which then the rest of the album trends that way. But yeah, the production does feel... It feels like the album breaks open in a way.
Oh, totally. It really does. Like, it feels like sun has come pouring into the album that was otherwise really dark.
Yeah, but it's still like not a happy song.
No, it is not.
You know?
But it's part of that. I think it's just part of that upswing we're talking about. Like, it's not necessarily that like, not that 24 and Remote Control and God, what's the song after? Why am I blanking? Moon. I guess that's actually a pretty heavy song, but I don't know. There's something about the songs where you could tell, like, where you're finally confronting yourself and like asking questions and on the way towards moving forward. Like, it is getting out of that darkness a little bit.
When it feels like if Jail starts in this place of divorce, right? Like, kind of the first lines we hear Kanye talk about seem to reflect what's going on with him and Kim, or in context of like where he's at with Kim. And then you go away from that for so long. Like, God Breathe doesn't get into that. Off the Grid doesn't get into that. Hurricane, Praise God, Jonah. I mean, Hurricane does. But you're finally coming back to it in a way where Kanye is expressing and emoting so much here. I guess Hurricane is something, that whole part where we're talking about him speaking on the relationship. That's another one where he was taking a lot of blame in terms of like genius gone stupid and all of that. But for 24 to be the next song where he's just like, dear God, make it all right. Only you can make it all right. Like, exhausted, never the right time to go. It does feel like there's this breakthrough in terms of finally breaking down and asking God for help in a way that, like, he was so confident in God Breathed and in Off the Grid. Like, it does feel a bit more like a tipping point.
Gosh, and the other thing we haven't really talked about, which I guess can come up naturally when we talk about the song, but the album's called Donda, and a lot of this is Kanye trying to reach through to Donda and channel Donda, and we can really think of Kanye doing that in every situation we see him in throughout this album, including this song where, you know, he's confronting his wife and her family and being combative and defending himself. It's hard to not think about Donda and conflating her with Kim a little bit. And, you know, she is the mother figure Kanye has here on earth, mother of his children. To see him like going after Kim in this kind of way, and then like on the next song be like becoming more introspective, like trying to reach through to God, like trying to put himself on a different level. You could see all that mixing and again pointing towards the path where Kanye gets to something like Lord, I Need You and starts to be just more peaceful and open and mending relationships and setting a new path for him in a way that Donda would see fit. Like, I just love how Donda's mixed into all of this, and especially something like this where you think she wouldn't fit, but she fits so well.
You even think back to Only One, right? In terms of songs about Kanye's like relationship with Kim, about his family. It's not something I brought up last episode or this episode, but that's a song where it's Donda talking to Kanye, and Kanye's writing it, so it's him imagining what his mom would say to him and talking about like, you ask God for an angel, he sent you like not just one but two. And like, yeah, you got Kim, he got North, or he has Kim, he has North at that point, right? Saint wasn't born yet, but you think about that perspective, how there was that connection or that bridge between Donda speaking about, or how Kanye was writing about Donda speaking about Kim as an angel, also the mother of his child. So I do think that that's a worthwhile point. And even going back to the listening parties, that first one's just Kanye in the empty space. The second one, you get him in the essentially like jail of his bedroom before he ascends at the very end. And then the third one, we go back to Chicago. He builds his childhood home. Donda isn't made explicit in that way, but it being his childhood home, it being in Chicago, having all the cars circling around that were all black, it felt very much like a funeral procession in some ways. But then to have Kim come out at the very end dressed all in white and kind of embody this every woman figure or every mother figure, there's just something where you once again kind of saw a little bit of this collapse between Kim as wife and Kim as mother. And I think there's just some subtext or to get into that or to think about when this song happens that you're pointing out.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so Lauryn Hill grounds the song in terms of this being about like relationship dynamics and like bad behavior of men towards women and women towards men and how that can complicate love. Mm-hmm. So you have all that in mind as you get into the first verse, which you need something unexpected, some form of weapon. You ask him to feel protected and still feel protected. Just one time for the record, just one time for the record. Don't agree with the message, don't agree with the methods. So the you is one of the morphing things. We've talked a lot in the past about how Kanye will use the you, but not often specify whether it's referring to himself or referring to the listener or referring to like Kim or an unnamed antagonist or something, right? It's a common technique, I think, in songs, in poems, in literature to sometimes use the you in that dynamic way of it's able to refer to many people because you haven't specified. When you get into the second verse, there are times where it clearly refers to Kim, but there are a few times where the you is people saying things to Kanye. So the you in that case is Kanye. It just kind of throws it back and forth. But that also means that you here isn't quite clear, right? Is the you Kim or is the you Kanye talking to himself?
Yeah.
Either way, it kind of works.
It totally works because, I mean, yeah, we could get into each of these lines and try to explain it, which I think is where the confusion you and I had started earlier for like trying to figure out this first verse from Kanye. But if you don't try to get so specific with it and say like, oh, like how did these four lines add up to like one image? Like, what is he saying? I think if you pull back and think about it either from Kim or Kanye's, Kanye's perspective, but whether he's speaking to himself or Kim, he's describing a very conflicted situation, like something unexpected. You need a weapon, like you want to feel protected. It's properly setting the tone and atmosphere of the song of these two people who don't know what to do in the situation. Like everything's so fucked up, and like Kanye doesn't agree with what Kim's doing, and Kim and her family don't agree with Kanye's doing, and this is what we're getting from it. So that's kind of how I read it now.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to take it, right? Like things went wrong, and now this situation between them is in this place of conflict to the point where it's like you feel like you need some sort of weapon to like get back at the person or defend yourself from the person, which I think is common in a breakup, right? Mm-hmm. When two people break up, there tends to be that like, oh, I need a weapon of, I remember when you did this, or I need a weapon of, you mistreated me this way. You start using memories as weapons in a way to justify yourself, to defend yourself, to vilify the other person in the scenario. So that's why you can also, like, you need to feel protected. But, like, yeah, the problem we were having at least is saying like, oh, you ask him to feel protected and still feel protected.
What does that mean?
What's that mean? Like, what does that mean? Is like the him a capital H? Like you ask
Yeah.
God to feel
I was thinking of
protected
that.
and still feel protected? Like, so is it just saying like you were already protected, but now you're scared? It's just getting into like the specificity of that wording when it's just, okay, the main thing is the idea of like asking for protection and putting that in terms of like the unexpected thing happening, a weapon coming into play, and just feeling like things are falling apart.
Yeah.
And then one time for the record just seems to be, at least to me, was jumping out to the way that Kim initially made a statement about Kanye's mental health in the aftermath of South Carolina, and Kanye also taking to Twitter to make statements about like Kim and Chris and everything that's going on. So it's like they're both saying things one time, right, for the record, to have it out there in the world. And as you were saying earlier, like it's probably the case that Kanye didn't agree with the message or the methods from Kim and her family, and they probably didn't agree with the message or methods from Kanye in that situation.
Yeah. Yep. That's so that's the tone, the energy we're getting as we head into the rest of the song, where Kanye is, defending himself and going after the situation.
Yeah. And if you wanted to take it like another step that's probably too far, that vague you, like looking back to Lauryn Hill saying my men and my women, and how the song has like a first verse where the men are at fault and a second verse where the women are at fault.
Right.
You could maybe say that Kanye is just channeling that idea that like, yeah, like both of us were like doing our own thing. We're both at fault in our own ways, but I'm going to speak on this in the way that like you were at fault towards me.
Yeah, I like that.
So then the chorus, don't let the lifestyle drag you down, which I think we're just kind of agreeing is Kanye saying this to Kim in this situation, right?
Or himself, like you don't have to get wrapped up in the Kardashian ways.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, which is something, I mean, he called out being in the sunken place, right? As people were, after the movie
Get Out,
thank you, came out, where a white family abducts not just this black man, but multiple black people and puts themselves in the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy movie, but so poignant, so defamiliarizing of the appropriation of culture and hypocrisy of people that are very racist in some regards, but also still appropriate culture. I mean, books have been written about Get Out, but people started talking about how Kanye is this example of the main character in Get Out that's going into this wealthy white family and losing himself, which I remember us arguing about how that's like unfair to the relationship that they had. But Kanye himself made reference to that in 2020, which was like, oh,
yeah, that was right.
That had to have been, a brutal blow in terms of like the family dynamic, like his relationship with them, but also shows how he was feeling about the relationship dynamic at the time.
Yeah.
But people made a case too. I saw like there's the imagery of one point of the main character falling through this dark space, and somebody pointed out how that looks similar to Kanye in the Moon music video, where he's rising up, or the 24 music video where he's rising up through the darkness. So instead of falling down into it, coming up out of it, which is kind of, it was an interesting visual comparison. But when you're talking about don't let the lifestyle drag you down, not necessarily being about Kim, but being something that Kanye could be saying to himself, it could play into all of that.
Yeah, but you could easily see it being about Kim as well, because a lot of the song just to me carries this tone of like, you're looking at things, you're looking at the situation this way, like you're viewing me in this light, and like, that's wrong. I'm not that kind of person. I just feel that kind of heaviness throughout.
Yeah, especially with like Buju Banton's outro, right?
Yeah, right.
Coming through, where it's just like, you were too easily fooled, so easily deceived.
Yeah.
It makes that line of like, don't let the lifestyle drag you down feel much more pointed.
Right.
And then you could also, it's at least worth noting that Off the Grid would be getting away from, I think, like there's this idea of like Off the Grid is this idea of getting away from pressures and lifestyle and all of that. You're disconnecting from what other people are saying that you should be doing, and getting out of that realm of influence. So I don't know if there's I would necessarily make a case that Off the Grid and Believe What I Say have some kind of connection, but there's at least something to this idea of stepping outside of lifestyle and stepping outside of what people are telling you to do that seems to be maybe a bit of a motif.
I think that's totally the case. Again, the song, Believe What I Say, it was a song in construction back in September 2020 after, the fallout of the election stuff. And we already know Kanye was in a bad place with Caitlyn Jenner, and don't let the lifestyle drag you down. Like that line wasn't necessarily there yet. As we said, Kanye was kind of mumbling the chorus, but again, like that song eventually translated to this. You have to think that energy was at least there. Like he was going to speak on something like that if it fit into the song. So that plays directly into Off the Grid and this idea of escaping from this kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, and we don't know what Off the Grid, like what the original verse from Kanye would have been. Like the verse that he wrote wasn't present during the first listening party, right? Mm-hmm. Was it not present during the second listening party too? It was only the third. Yeah. So, but that song was on the track list for Donda,
right?
In like 2020, like it was on the OG track list. I'm pretty sure it was on the God's Country track lists. So Off the Grid, at least as a concept, has been around,
right? Like Kanye's on the chorus of that song every time.
Yeah. So that song's been like attached to this project for a while. Maybe even predates Believe What I Say. But you can imagine it still maybe influencing, because at that point, Kanye's spending a lot of time in Wyoming because he wanted to get out of LA specifically. And Kim's spending a lot of time in Los Angeles and not wanting to move out to Wyoming because you could imagine Kanye's like, well, you're just wanting the lifestyle there.
Yeah, right.
That's presumptive, but I can see it.
We're the ones that make the presumption, though. We're the experts here. I almost called us geniuses.
We're the geniuses here.
It's the Kanye me coming out.
Spell it JEEN.
That's right.
YUS or YUHS. Yeah. Okay, so don't let the lifestyle drag you down. Who knows when was the last time you felt the love? So if you're applying this to Kanye, it's one of those things like, why do you don't have to get swept up in the lifestyle, the Kardashian lifestyle. When was the last time you even felt the love from your wife, who might be so caught up in the lifestyle and everything that there's no time and attention like placed for you, or no time and attention given to you? And if you want to apply it to Kim, it's one of those things where he's saying like, you're so caught up with the lifestyle that you can't even feel the love that I'm giving.
Yeah.
Like you're oblivious to what I'm trying to like send your way, which, when's the last time you felt the love could get back to that last conversation of the class in doo-wop, or at least is why doo-wop and the conversation about love that closes that song is so relevant to this song.
Totally. And you could think of both of those angles on that line feeding into One Last Sparkle to Follow in My Light. Is Kanye talking about like moving on from this love, or like trying to find love, like trying to find a light in this? Or is he speaking like to Kim, like follow my light? Like it's a very vague line. Like I like it. I like the imagery of it and the image it creates. But either way you take it from that, I feel like he's getting towards that energy, like people who are lost and like trying to like follow this light or like find a way out.
There's something very poetic about it, like that idea of one last sparkle. Like in this romance we had, in this love that we had, there's just one last sparkle that we're seeing before it like disappears completely, which is heartbreaking,
right, in
a lot of ways. But is it that dark? The line's so vague. It's one of those ones where trying to specify to follow in my light, one last sparkle to follow in my light. So as I'm walking away, and you're seeing the light of me walk away, you just catch one last sparkle. I can kind of see that. Like, I can see the cinematic shot, right?
Right.
Especially, I'm imagining it as an animated movie where this person just like walks out the door. You see the daylight that's around them, like as the door closes, kind of disappearing, and it's dark inside the room. And there's just like one last sparkle that kind of floats off and vanishes.
Yeah. So it's basically that, like, however specific you want to get with it. Like, it's either that sparkle going away for Kim as Kanye leaves, or the sparkle going away for Kanye as Kim leaves.
Yeah. Yeah. But regardless, their relationship, losing that sparkle.
Yeah. Oof. I don't like hearing that.
So then the second verse starts, "Man, it's too early. What the hell you doing waking me up at 5:30?" Which it makes me think about how in the Keeping Up with the Kardashians episode where Kim was detailing some of the issues that she was having with Kanye, she talked about how Chloe and Tristan wake up every day together and work out in the morning. And they work out together and it's awesome. But Kim, she'll wake up to work out and sometimes work out with them in third wheel, but Kanye never wants to work out with her.
Yeah.
That was one of her complaints. And it's like, is that a reference to this? Like, she just wakes him up at 5:30 being like, "Hey, work out with me." And he's like, "No."
Also, something I do not relate to. I do not. Some people, I guess it works for them. I do not like working out with another person. I see people who run together, and I'm like, how do you do that? Like, I need to be alone.
Yeah, we had lifting buddies in college.
Yeah,
like
I guess
the baseball
that's different,
team
yeah.
assigned you like lifting partners, and then our fraternity had a ton of people that just lifted, and you usually go and lift together. But even then, by the end, I was just like, I just want to lift by my like.
I always lifted by myself. I never had somebody with me.
Yeah.
So, but I never lifted a lot, so it didn't really matter.
I still go by myself. How
much you bench?
No. I haven't done like a max on bench in a while.
Yeah.
I'm guessing 185.
No, probably more than I could do. Shit.
Yes. No, I don't know. But I wonder if, that's just what he's saying. But regardless, it's just like, Kim's waking him at 5:30 for something, and Kanye's just like, "Why the hell are you worried?
Yeah.
Like, are you waking me at 5:30 because you're worried about something? Why the hell are you worried?" He's just dismissing what it is. He finds what she's doing ridiculous, and she probably finds what he's doing not comforting. Mm-hmm. And then play something that is very, very vibe worthy. I don't know.
I feel like a lot of this verse, I was going to say this earlier, that I think it's tough, and I've seen it a few times in this album, but specifically in this song, Kanye really drifts in and out of thoughts to where he'll be speaking directly to Kim and then like, just like, like block all that out and like do this, and he's speaking to himself. And I kind of feel like that's happening here. Like you're waking me up. Like, why are you worried? Play something that is very, very vibe worthy. Don't want my mind altering. So like he's trying to push
alerting.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So he's like, this is his way of like getting away from this. Like, play a song that has vibes. Like, don't let it distract you. Like, you don't want your mind, wandering out. Like, stay on task.
Yeah, I guess that would just be his response, right? She's like worried, and he's like, stop like worrying about whatever and just play something that's vibe worthy. Like, drift off to some music that is like entrancing, and don't worry about it.
Yeah, and again, I will note it every time, but I feel like that happens enough in the song that I think it's like a motif, or not a motif, but just like a part of the song's construction.
Yeah, like a conscious thing. The same way that we pointed out on Off the Grid, every time he mentions like godliness, he goes right back to something that's antagonistic.
Right.
And it's just like, is he aware of that, or is he not aware of that?
Right.
Okay. That helps complete the picture a little more for me, though. Like, why the hell are you worried? Just like play music.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Stop. And I don't want to be as like worried as you are. Like, I need to be in a proper state of mind.
Right.
And then people say tweeting gonna make you die early, which is one of the things we talked so much about Kanye's tweets regarding Kim and Chris in the aftermath of South Carolina and the hospitalization efforts that they tried making. And him even tweeting that he'd been trying to divorce Kim since she went to the Waldorf to meet Meek Mill, which he assumed was something more salacious than what it was. Photos emerged of like Kim, Meek, and this renowned person that does work for the foundation that they were meeting with.
Right.
So it was something in that way that you could clearly see by the photo that it was a business dinner, but to Kanye, it wasn't. And he's saying, I've been trying to divorce Kim since that. So in that September period, he was tweeting so much that this feels relevant to that. Like people saying tweeting going to make you die early, as in I'm tweeting all these things that are going to ruin my career. They're going to ruin my marriage. They're showing that I'm having these mental health issues. However you want to take death, the same way of like jail, right? How jail had layers of meaning, from physical jail to emotional jail to societal jail, being canceled. Like death here has a similar role.
Yeah. And he really like pushes it away by saying, how about my heart hurting? Which is like, well, tweeting's not going to make me die early. Like the fact that my heart is hurting is what's really going to kill me. So like it really makes the idea of like complaining about tweets seem, trivial. Whereas like my marriage is ending, you guys are like tearing this family apart. Like, and the heartache I have from that, like that's really what's going to kill me.
Yeah, and like holding that all inside, like this idea that I have these things hurting my heart that you want me to hold them inside, like that could make you die early. No, I need to say these things, put them out in the world, because that is what's going to like bring us to something that's at least like saying them will make me feel better. Like it'll be an unburdening, and I think that will help me live longer.
Yeah.
And Genius has How About Have My Heart Hurtin', and we listened on 0.25 speed. And you can hear him say, how about my heart hurtin', or how about how my heart hurtin'?
How my heart hurtin'.
Yeah. How about how my heart hurtin'?
I guess any way you shake it, he's basically saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Although, how about have my heart hurtin' doesn't really make sense.
No, it's at least seems more grammatically correct. Yeah. How about how my heart hurtin'? Like that's the thing that's going to make you die early. Go on and get your best attorney. Yeah, so that kind of goes from that idea of like death being something that's beyond the physical, right? You're seeing this death of the marriage, and there were rumors that the divorce was going to happen in the aftermath of Kanye making all these tweets in the South Carolina speech, which again, like go and get your best attorney. It feels like we're grounded in that September, October 2020 time period.
Right.
Something's there. Feel it when I heard it.
Just release the spirit, let it flow though. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I wonder if those lines kind of come together. Like, I don't know exactly. I hadn't thought much about that line.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be something like there's something to what I'm saying or something to what you're saying. That gets back to like, I would imagine it goes back to hold it all inside that can make you die early. Just release the spirit, let it flow though. Like these things that you have in your heart, you're just releasing the spirit and letting it flow. And there's some truth to it that you can feel when you hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. We don't know everything.
No, but that would be my best guess on that. It's a callback to that. And then how these guys leaving now with one leg like Flojo. So the idea of leaving now with one leg like Flojo was a like Olympic sprinter, Florence Griffith Joyner. Joyner, right?
Yeah, Florence Griffith Joyner, is that her name?
I know it was like that. I just don't know if it was like Join or Joyner.
No, yeah, I guess that is her name. We must be like conflating her with someone else whose name is Joyner.
Oh no, it is Joyner.
Oh, okay. So it's just written wrong on Genius.
It's written wrong on Genius. Yeah, I saw that's what tripped me up because I was like, it's Florence Griffith Joyner. I've heard her name, like I grew up with her like running, so I'd heard her name all the time. But seeing it on Genius with the join, like it's just E no R. I was like, wait, have I been wrong my entire life?
I know, that's all I could think in this moment. I was like, oh, like I thought it was okay.
Yeah, that's what set me for a little bit of a loop there. But her nickname was Flojo. A terrific runner, sadly passed away from an epileptic seizure at only 38 years old. But she was a beast. She was a force, and she would wear these tracksuits where one leg was often covered and one leg was exposed. Just like stylistic, it was cool. So with Kanye saying how these guys leaving now with one leg like Flojo, it looked like she only had one leg since the one was exposed and the one was covered. These guys leaving now with only one leg, I mean, is it saying that you have these guys that are leaving now, they're like injured, right? Like they've been wounded, they've been hurt, which follows up with the idea of nail me to the cross with long nails like Coco, which Coco, there's a group SWV, R&B group, and she had these really long fingernails. So he's just kind of getting some like references in, like Flojo with her pants, Coco with her nails, but the nail me to the cross with long nails is violent image, it's biblical image of Jesus being crucified, right? But it also makes you wonder with the parallel construction of like Flojo and like Coco, if these guys leaving now with one leg, you've had these guys who have been married to or dated Kardashians, I'm assuming, in the past.
Right.
And the relationships end and these guys leave damaged.
Yes.
They're like limping, they're hurt, and now Kanye is going to be one of them, where he's like nailed to the cross in the aftermath of this relationship with a Kardashian falling apart.
Yeah, and to lend even more weight to that argument, Coco could be a reference to Khloe Kardashian, whose nickname is Coco and also has long nails.
Yeah, so Kanye's getting in like a little bit of a double entendre there, right? It's like Coco, but it's also Coco. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
This is like classic old Kanye stuff.
Yeah.
I love it.
Right. And that would give some context. Like much has been made about the line free throat coat for the throat goats. Oh man. In the sense that I've seen people be like, how do you have a line like this on an album that's named after his mother? You're just like, okay, like it's named after his mom, but he can still have some like outrageous lines.
We shouldn't even be talking about that.
Yeah. But this idea of, if he is getting into like relationships with the Kardashian sisters, right?
Yeah.
Khloe, Kim, Kourtney, then he's saying like free throat coat for the throat goats. Like they are the throat goats given like their reputation, the men that they've dated, like all of that. He's just essentially like complimenting them while also not.
Yeah. Like I don't think throat coats is ever used complimentary. I mean, maybe it is, but I feel like it's usually used as like an insult or slut shaming in a way. But here, Kanye, being antithesis to Kanye, like going after Kim's family, it's just him in that really elevated, ramped up state and saying something like this.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those things where like you could have a group of people that call themselves the throat goats and like laugh about it.
Right.
And you're like, okay, they can do that. But if somebody else is being like, yo, you're the throat goats.
Somebody like Kanye doing that.
Yeah. Like, don't call us that. Like, what? Don't say that about us. And I mean, it doesn't have to be Kardashian specific. It could just be him saying like, generalizing anybody in the aftermath of a breakup, like these women that like use you or that you've used, you're just labeling them as like throat goats and kind of walking away from it. But it seems pointed towards the Kardashians for everything that we talked about in terms of the context of Kanye talking about the influence that people have had on Kim, that this is taking place in that September 2020 period where he was so caught up in how the family was potentially impacting Kim's decision making, yada yada.
It's hard to think this line makes any sense at all if that isn't true. Like, this line would really come out of left field.
Very much out of left field. Okay, even if I got to do it solo, even if I got to do it with no promo, I ain't got my point across. So I think that even if I got to do it solo, even if I got to do it with no promo, comes back with him like getting a point across, right? Free throat coat for the throat goats, even if I got to do it solo,
basically,
even if
like,
I got to do it with no promo.
Even if Kim's not there, like, I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to go out and speak my mind.
Yeah, and I'm going to, if it's not getting like the media attention or anything like that, and then comes back to him making his point, right? I ain't got my point across till we finally get across and pass the point, which Kanye had tweeted also September 16th, 2020.
Yeah.
So again, we are grounded in September 2020. People say it's enough and I got my point across. The point isn't across until we cross the point, which it's one of those things that sounds good, but trying to get into the specifics of it, I'm like, okay.
I feel like he's just saying, like, to me, it's no different than what he says on, like, St. Pablo. Like, I could see 1,000 years from now in real life, or Ghost Town, years ahead but way behind. Like, it's just him saying, like, I have this point that's too complicated for people to understand, too far ahead of time. And once we're already way past me making the point, like, then people get it, then people understand. But until then, like, we're just kind of, people are just like not getting what I'm saying, and I'm getting a lot of flack in the moment.
Okay, I get that. Yes, agreed. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And that's why it gets into, like, even if I got to do it solo, even if I got to do it with no promo, I will make this point that people won't get until we finally cross. Okay. Yep. Okay. And then, so there's a couple things that I got to quote. Don't involve yourself in things you don't have to know, which could be him saying to Kim, like, you know, you don't get yourself in things that you don't need to know about. It could be him telling that to himself. Don't get involved in things you don't have to know. But then that next line saying, I ain't never question what you asking for, seems like, okay, now we are talking about Kim.
Hey, so you think he could be talking to the family too?
I could be. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Don't involve yourself in things you don't have to know, like Chris, Chloe, right. Courtney. Like, you don't have to involve yourself in all of this. I never questioned what you was asking for. I gave you every single thing you was asking for. I don't understand how anybody could ask for more.
Great flow.
Got a list of even more. I just laugh it off. It is a great flow. Okay, so yeah, you could read that as like what he was going through with Kim, right? Like, Kim was asking for a lot. He gave her everything she wanted, but then she is asking for even more. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you're asking for even more? But that could be the family, right?
Right.
Like, the family asked him to do all this stuff. Like, he gave them everything that they were asking for, which could get back to the fact that they wanted him on the TV show. They were asking him to do things for, like, their kids, for promo, for helping them out and everything. And now they still want more from him.
Yeah. Yeah, it just feels like, again, any way you shake it, it all feels wrapped up in the one, just reflective of the general chaotic situation.
Yeah, that he was in a situation with Kim where he was feeling very overwhelmed by all of the demands.
Back against the wall.
Yep. And I'd be going through things I had to wrote. I mean, I guess it would be writing songs like this, right?
Yeah.
Celebrity drama that only Brad'll know, which
I love that
Brad
line.
Pitt. Yeah. And Brad Pitt, people were obsessed with his relationship with Jennifer Aniston as well as Angelina Jolie. And you would see these tabloids, and at this time you didn't necessarily have, at least in the early days, right? Like when he and Jennifer Aniston first got together, even when he and Angelina started dating in like 2005, 2006, online gossip columns weren't as popular as they are today. Like Page Six's website isn't as popular as it is today. You didn't have these Instagram accounts that are as popular as they are today. You had magazines that were at every gas station, every grocery store, that on the cover of them, week after week after week, you'd see Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston divorcing. Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston breaking up, not talking. Brad's moved out. Jennifer's moved out. And then you'd see photos of them together looking just fine and happy. But we've talked about this before when Kanye was mentioning the media and the influence of media and gossip columns, that you don't know what kind of insidious impact those things will have. You could feel completely happy with the person. They could be doing nothing. But if you keep seeing this headline over and over again of like, Kanye has mysterious girlfriend, Kim has mysterious boyfriend, like, rumor is that Kim's gonna break up with Kanye. Rumor is that Kanye's like looking to move on from Kim. She's too boring. At a certain point, after years of those headlines, do you start to buy into it a little bit more? Like, do you start to think maybe they do have a source? Maybe someone is talking, and it compromises things. Like Brad went through that, I'm sure, with Jennifer, and then with Angelina, it was the same thing. Every single week, another story about how they're falling apart, how he's cheating, how she's cheating, yada, yada, yada. Despite the fact they were together for, what, like
a while,
14 years?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. They did eventually break up, which then the gossip columns just feel like they win, right? We told you things weren't good. It's like, yeah, but you were saying that in like 2007.
Yeah, right.
You said it every year. And that was the same kind of thing with Kanye and Kim. They were talking about Kanye and Kim breaking up since 2012.
Yeah, right.
And now they finally did. And you have all these people being like, see, all those rumors must have been true, blah, 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 blah. So I feel like that's what Kanye's getting at with the celebrity drama. Only Brad will know.
Yeah, for sure. Just how fucking incessant those people are.
Yeah. Incessant, over the top.
Terrible.
Like, yeah. Terrible. Yeah. But then too many family secrets, somebody passing notes, which also, grounds everything in the family, right?
Right.
Like, and it might not just be Kim, it might be the family, somebody passing notes. So things are getting leaked to the press in some ways. Things I cried about, I found laughable. So yeah, somebody passing notes, the things I cried about, things I found laughable. So I guess he's saying that some of the things he cried about, some of the things he found laughable, right?
I guess so. Or the things he cried about, like now he finds laughable.
Yeah. It can be either of those.
Yeah.
So things I cried about, I found laughable would be I find laughable.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's
if it was, yeah. Is that just written in the past tense for the flow, or is that written in the past tense because it's past tense?
Well, that's the first question we should ask Kanye.
Kanye, when you said things I cried about, I found laughable, did you choose the past tense for found? Yeah, because it was past tense, or did you just not want to use I find laughable, even though it would have rhymed with I cried? Like things I cried about, I find laughable.
We look
you
up,
get that I sound.
There's just an empty computer chair like spinning. He exited like a cartoon.
Took off. I hate these guys. Reach.
And then a Kanye shaped hole in the wall.
Just like the Kool-Aid man. So I found laughable. Little baby Jesus ain't laughing, no. So yeah, it's just funny. Like, yeah, I find laughing, but like Jesus, who cares about me? He ain't laughing.
This situation is not
very
funny.
Serious. Yeah. Don't involve yourself in things they ain't have to know. So, I mean, yeah, is that getting into like Kim now? Like, don't put yourself in situations that like your family didn't have to know about, that they go leaking it to the press, et cetera, et cetera.
Don't involve yourself, like Kanye talking to himself in these things.
Oh yeah, don't put yourself in these things. Don't involve these other people in things they ain't have to know about.
He does say it twice.
Like, yeah, I mean, don't make yourself vulnerable in this way.
Yeah.
The big man upstairs ain't laughing, no. Yeah, so it's just like God is finding nothing funny about these leaks and this situation. It's just sad.
Yeah.
And then Buju. Now here we are. You know I'm not about it. Showed you my all. I let you into my thoughts, which does reinforce that reading, right? Like Kanye let someone in, and it might not just be Kim, but like showed you my all. I let you into my thoughts. It could be the family in general, but regardless, this vulnerability that he put on display, allowing people in, came back to bite him.
Yeah. I love Buju's part here. It's such an atypical feature. Like, I feel like the last time I got something like this, and like the interlude we'll get from him soon, is what Nicki did on Dark Fantasy. Like someone coming in who's more just like commenting and like almost telling a story. And I don't know, it's a really interesting, the production even changes for him. Like it starts to sound warped, and like he's like there's this image of him like floating in the sky, like telling us like about a situation. It's so cool how he brings in this like very specific grounded perspective suddenly that like is just communicating how Kanye feels. Like it more than Kanye's verse, it feels like Kanye's just like speaking directly to Kim.
It's a very narrator way of going about it, right?
Yeah.
Or like now he's bringing in a character that's going to like speak to Kim in a way that, I don't know, there's something about that like step back, right? That it's not Kanye himself saying it, but having Buju say it that is dramatizing.
Yeah, it definitely, you're totally right. It feels like a narrator, like a Jiminy Cricket kind of thing, like somebody coming in to tell us what's up.
Yeah, I mean, and that's also kind of mimics in some ways the construction of doo-wop, where you have Lauryn Hill on the majority of the song, but bringing in the skit outro, the class discussion at the end.
Oh, wow.
And here he's bringing in Buju at the end.
Consider my mind blown, Chris.
Happy to do it. So we get that last chorus, don't let the lifestyle drag you down. Who knows when the last time you felt the love, which now has far more context given everything we heard in that second verse, right? In this relationship being in the state that it's in.
Yeah, and he also says following my love, which is new.
Yeah, follow in my light. One last sparkle to follow in love.
Man.
Okay, and then Buju comes through with okay. I didn't throw a fit. Is him saying okay there a callback to okay, okay? No.
Oh, yeah. Kidding. Does he also pause that long after he says okay?
Okay.
I wish he did that.
I didn't throw a fit. Yeah.
Look, I didn't throw a fit.
I did throw a fit when you said you wanted to leave. Oh, man. Which automatically grounds this in like much more serious,
right?
Like this is the ending of the relationship, and then the you here does feel more specifically about Kim, right? Which I could understand why somebody would say if the you here is so specifically about Kim, then the you and don't involve yourself in things you don't have to know. I never question what you ask him for is probably about Kim as well. But as we pointed out, there's reasons to assume that earlier portion could be about the family.
And Kanye does this all the time, so
yeah, the duality of you. I told you I loved you, but you didn't believe. You were too easily fooled, so easily deceived. So there could imagine a situation where like they get together again in the aftermath of his South Carolina speech. We saw the photos of Kim on the ranch and her crying in the car as her and Kanye are talking. And I mean, it could be something where Kanye's like, I do love you. I love you. I love you. And she's just like, how? Like you say those things, you tweet those things. How can I believe you? And he's like, well, you're too easily fooled by what everyone's saying, so easily deceived by some dude who's more rather into greed, which I could see someone also making the argument that Buju is just talking about his own situation. Like we shouldn't necessarily apply all of these lines to
right.
Like, these are exactly what happened between Kim and Kanye. Like, was there some dude who came through who's more rather into greed?
Right. That's interesting. That you could treat it like any sort of feature, and that there's a musicality to it.
Yeah, like the same way that Pusha T's section on Runaway, right?
Right.
When he comes through, it's relevant to what Kanye's relationship breaking down,
right.
but it might not be Kanye's situation.
Well, yeah, we know it kind of isn't, right? Like Pusha T really is reflected on a situation he went through.
Yeah, he was an asshole to a woman and felt bad about it, and the relationship ended, but Kanye wanted him to write about it, and Pusha kept like not chastising himself enough,
right.
like kind of pumping the brakes a little bit because he felt some guilt, and Kanye kept telling him to rewrite it and be more of an asshole, and finally Pusha said he just had to embrace the fact that I was.
Yeah, right.
So it could be that Kanye's letting Buju do his thing here, and Buju's like in the realm of what was going on with Kanye and Kim, but it might not be a 1-for-1 match. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So unless Kanye's like hinting at the fact that like there was some other guy in the relationship that, or in the picture that swayed Kim.
Right. I'm sure people will theorize about that.
Yeah. I mean, she does have a lot of like guy besties as well.
I just think Kanye does it all the time, though. Like, a woman will represent fame, or, you know, that kind of thing. Like, the dude could just be like the lifestyle, your family, like you getting pulled in by something that's outside of what we have. Yeah,
it's just kind of a synecdoche, like a standing in for a larger whole.
Right.
Okay. Played by your emotions, you were swamped by your needs. Told me I didn't believe. You said I was out to deceive. Ha ha ha.
I love hearing you read this and not just hearing Buju giving, you know, the life and everything.
Yeah, much different energies between the two of us.
When I first heard this, I assumed it was from some movie or some like fairy tale, like audiobook or something. It's just so funny to hear it. Like, no, this guy like really, he kind of pulled it off. He made it sound like that.
Yeah, right. It's just Buju. I mean, we know that Kanye went down to Jamaica, met up with Buju, and like they were in the studio together. It's just funny that this is what Buju was recording.
Crazy, yeah.
But like you swamped by your needs feels like it's coming back to like the lifestyle stuff, right? You have all these things you feel like you need. You said that I lie. How did I? I told you everything, didn't I? But you just could not believe, man, I'm so peeved. Your friends all up in your head, even when we're in bed. And this is another time, whether you want to get like as specific with this as Buju is explaining the Kim and Kanye situation, or at least just dramatizing a situation, the fact that it's coming back to other people convincing this girl about what's going on, like the dude who's like playing her, as well as your friends all up in your head even when we're in bed, like you're hearing what they're saying, comes back to what we were saying earlier, that it's probably a chastisement of not just Kim but of Kim's family, and the influence that they have on Kim. Your mind's elsewhere and you say you care. Haha, I'm laughing at you all, which like you're even getting the laughing, like, you know, I found laughable, little baby Jesus ain't laughing, the big man upstairs ain't laughing. You're seeing some parallel constructions going on here between Buju and Kanye's verse. So it's like, even if Kanye's is like, this is what literally happened, Buju's can be more of a, this is a summary of what happened.
Right. All the laughing, like it does make you think of like little baby Jesus ain't laughing though, God ain't laughing though, and this talk of laughing and like kind of like brushing aside very real problems, like it really just shows, I think it paints Kanye's character as being defensive in this moment and not ready to confront these problems and until he has to, as we see him do for the rest of the album.
Yeah, there is that defensive-ness that we don't get on Lord, I Need You and Come to Life.
Right.
And even Hurricane, which, I mean, was kind of a tipping point song.
Right.
No, my back against the wall. The wall.
My back ain't against the wall.
Oh, yeah, my back ain't against the wall. Sorry.
You don't got me.
Yeah, so I'm feeling like... I'm feeling good. I'm standing my ground. Like I'm not fearful of this situation or this dynamic. I'm just laughing at you all.
Then we get the chorus.
Yep, which feels even more pointed with the idea of like one last sparkle to follow in my light, right?
It is the end.
Like my back ate against the wall. Like I'm choosing to walk out of here. I'm choosing to leave you all. Like you don't have me cornered, and you're going to get that one last sparkle to follow in my light as I like take off into the night.
Oh man. Jeez. I mean, like it's not an improper way for the song to end. Like we talked, I mean, it's a very combative, contentious song despite the sound of it. I almost wonder if the sound like fuels it in a way. Like Kanye feels like he's in the right in the situation and he's on top, and like this music is like his vibe in that sense.
I mean, it's possible, right? I mean, he does say like, okay, if we're getting like super deep, why the hell are you worried? Play something that is very, very vibe worthy. I don't want my mind alerting. So essentially, don't worry about things. Distract yourself with music that's vibe worthy. And here we have music that's vibe worthy.
That's interesting.
So is this his way of like having the form of the song, have this thing, like have this confidence of like, see, I'm not worried about anything. I'm good, which is also why I'm saying like my back ate against the wall. I'm not worried, but the vibe of the song belies the fact that he actually is more worried than what he's letting on.
I like that. That's cool.
I don't know how much you could like. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's there. It's something you can chew on.
Yeah, you can make the argument given like him saying you play something that's very, very vibe worthy instead of worrying. And here we have a song that has a vibe that sticks out so drastically.
Right.
From Jonah, from Praise God, Jonah, OK, Junior, even like heading into 24, Remote Control, Moon, Heaven and Hell. So I could see that being the case, though others would just say, you know, on an album, you have different highs and lows. And for the sequencing of the soundscape, you just want something that's a little brighter in the spots. Yeah, I can see that as well. Like,
any way you shake it, the song fucking rules.
Yeah, I'm into it. Like, I'm into the Kanye standing his ground aspects of it, or at least like giving more of a perspective about what he thought was ridiculous in the situation. I think we need the range of it, where he's accepting fault and finding like what his own flaws were in things, but also not shying away from pointing the finger and saying, hey, I was upset about this. It's good to get that perspective. The production's amazing. Like his flow on the song's awesome. Like One Last Sparkle to Follow in My Light is such a great line.
Yeah. His flow's great. He's doing like the rap singing thing that he's just getting so good at. I mean, this song just kills it front to back.
Yeah. And then the, okay. I just saw your text.
Whatever.
And then,
we're okay on time.
Yeah, the use of the sample is fantastic as well, and reinforces everything we were talking about. Just that there is tension between how men treat women and how women treat men, and it complicates the love that they're able to give one another. And that very much seems to be the foundation of this song.
Wow.
Is like checking the situation and realizing like what people are doing to you and what you're doing to others.
To be honest, like I never rated this song. Like I've always loved this song, but I never rated it that high because like I think somewhere in my head I thought like it isn't as cohesive and meaningful and as well constructed song as a lot of these other songs where I can see like these storylines play it out and all these like sounds like meaning so much. Like this song is pretty fulfilled. Like it has like something it's trying to do, like all of the like it's so Kanye, like the sample even plays into it. It's bright and bubbly, like everything about it's kind of working. I think it's gonna raise up in my rankings.
Yeah, it's a bop.
Yeah, wow.
And it having more of a footing in the concept,
yeah,
always helps.
Definitely, yeah. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah, Yep.
Together.
All right, then. Together. 24 hours a day.
24. Hey.
24 days a week.
Oof. 24. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one, especially like getting into some of the, like, already looking at the first verse, like you have Kanye saying like everybody want to feel like everything going to be right, and that already calls back to like praise God,
right?
And this idea from Lil Kim, like let's get right.
Oh no,
new me over the old me, let it out, and we have like new again as a song. Like it's just going to be one of those songs where you're just like, oh my God,
here we go. Oh man. All right, I'm excited about that. But until we get there, Chris, I need both you and I to make a promise to each other. And if the listeners want to join in this, that's great. But we need to stay wavy.
Oh, yeah, I promise I'll stay wavy.
Okay.
Do you pinky promise you'll keep it loopy?
Yeah, cross my heart, hope to die.
That's right.
All right.
All right. Until next time.